Colton Kielbasa. How you doing? How you
It's
feeling? How's everything
good.
going?
Good, man. Just hanging out in Bangkok, training, fighting, coaching out here. Right now, just finished up eating at a restaurant, hanging out.
So look, after making your debut and at one championship, and just I looked at your fight record and of course your fights as well. For someone who's still very young in the game and who is still very fresh, your amateur record. I mean, okay, forgive me, but I did look at, is it Topology? Topology fighting. I've been told, I've been warned that it's not always the best source to look at combat sports, combat sports athletes fighting record, but it shows that your amateur fight record isn't that much, but your professional fight record is pretty impressive.
Uh, thank you. Yeah, I had four amateur fights. Um, yeah, I had four amateur fights, and then I made my pro debut last year in the November. Last year in November for LFL in Amsterdam. That was awesome. And then since then, I've been pretty busy the past year.
Yeah, okay. No,
That's
that's
nice. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good.
I had a couple fights. I had a couple fights that aren't on my record too. They're mock fights. So it's 1 round, 9 minutes here in Bangkok. 1 round, 9 minute fight. Only win by finish. If you get a finish, you win. If you don't get a finish, it's a draw. So
No.
those will go on your record. Fight to fight.
But it's the first time with me speaking to you, and I do this with every guest that's on the show. Um, so I like to take things back to like the beginning of the person's story. So can you just give us like a brief as your backstory and who you are, where you come from, how you started out in the sport?
Yeah, of course. So I'm from Chicago originally. And then I wrestled my whole life, growing up wrestling. I think I started when I was about 10 years old, 10, 11 years old, something like that. And then wrestling in Chicago, Illinois, has a really good wrestling program. So, like, I've had high quality coaching since I was a little kid. They really high quality coaching. And then wrestled throughout high school and everything. And then after high school, it was like, okay, I can go wrestle in college, but man, I love to go out. I love to party. So I was like, if I go to college, I don't know how that would go. I didn't trust myself enough.
Sure.
I was like, all right, so I'll go to the Marines. My one high school coach, he wrestled in the Marine Corps actually, and he was like, hey, you can wrestle in the Marines. And I was like, done. I'll go to the Marines. So then after that, I joined the Marines, and then go through boot camp, the whole everything, and then I got stationed in Virginia, was the first place I was stationed. And there's like the Marine Corps wrestling team is in North Carolina, and
Yeah.
that's like, I don't know, like a 4 hour drive away. And there's they do a they used to do it. They used to do every 6 months. They do like a tournament to like get people to join the team, right? And then so I heard about it. I drove down to Virginia. I won the tournament, and they're like, "Hey, you want to join the All Marine Wrestling team?" And I'm like, "Sweet, like fuck yeah, let's do it." Like that's why I was there. And then so I just had to get approval through my unit, and then once I got approved and everything, I was able to join the All Marine Wrestling team. And then I was just there for a short time. I was there for 6 months, and then my unit called me back. They said, "Hey, you got to come back and do real Marine shit. You can't just wrestle." So then
Okay.
I was like, all right, whatever, I gotta go back. And then so I was just there 6 months, and then that was really good time. And it was like training every day, twice a day, like just wrestling, getting paid to wrestle, like in the Marine Corps. It was my job was wrestling. Instead of doing normal Marine shit, you get to do wrestling, and I was super lucky to have that opportunity. But then, like when it came back, I was like, okay, I went back to my unit in Virginia, and I was like, okay, well, fuck, now what? I probably won't get another chance to go back on the wrestling team. It's like, so I guess I want to start fighting. And so I went to like a local MMA gym, trained there. Yeah. And then eventually, when I got out of the Marines, I came to Thailand. I wanted to come to Thailand, to improve my striking. And then, man, I came to Thailand about 4.5 years ago now. A month or two. Yeah, probably like 4.5 years ago now. And ever since then, I've been in Thailand and training, coaching, fighting.
Mm.
It works.
But I guess that the fact that you were wrestling when you were in the Marines, um, already, can I say fitness and combat sports? Because that wrestling is a combat
Yep.
sport. It already,
Yeah,
let me say, it already had like a foothold in your life. So you already had like you're very familiar to one of the aspects of combat sports.
absolutely. Bro, like wrestling, in my opinion, is the toughest sport in the world. Like way tougher than MMA. Just the grind is different. It's a different grind, and the physicality. Like, okay, you're not getting punched and kicked, knee in the head and stuff, right? But the physicality of wrestling, the day to day, it's worse than the physicality MMA day to day. Outside of like sparring, right? Like sparring's different, so you get punched in the head and shit. But like the every day in a wrestling room, like a high level wrestling room, it's basically a fight without punching. You're not doing jiu-jitsu, sitting on your ass, pulling guard, say, okay,
Yeah.
like let's flow roll. Like, no, that's not happening. You're grinding, like, you're butting heads, you're clubbing heads and stuff, and then hour and a half a day, and then or sorry, hour and a half session, something like that, and then doing it again, it's like fuck. It's a grind.
No, no, definitely. It's I always say like if you speaking in the terms of mixed martial arts, that I think the stand up probably slightly easier than the ground game because ground game you have to use a lot more in your arsenal to try to attack your opponent and to also to defend yourself.
Yeah, I don't. So I would say like the physical, like training wise, training striking is significant. Training striking is significantly easier than training grappling, right? Because it's less taxing on your body. But the competing in striking, like if you were growing up doing kickboxing and fighting Muay Thai, you're a Thai person who has 200 Muay Thai fights, something like that. Like that is obviously is way more taxing on the body than say a wrestling tournament over a 3 day weekend or something like that. But like, yeah, it's two completely different aspects, Like I don't want to. I would say wrestling is much more difficult mentally and physically, like training and the whole wrestling as a whole together.
So, how did you make the transition to mixed martial arts from I think kind of like starting with that aspect of combat sports with the wrestling? How did you move to that side of the sport?
Um, so like I said, in Virginia, right? I went to like a local MMA gym, and there was a really good striking coach there, and he still runs the program now in Virginia, and really good striking coach. And I was like, okay, I was interested. I started doing jiu-jitsu. I like jiu-jitsu. It's very similar, not similar, but grappling. Grappling's grappling. But then I started doing striking a lot. And then Paul Banasic, who's a Muay Thai fighter out here, he's in Thailand now as well. He did a seminar at our gym, and when he came here, or when he came to my gym, he was like talking about, oh, I live in Thailand, this, that. And I'm like, okay, man, like fuck, like I want to get good at striking or at least better at striking or like supplement my wrestling. And I'm like, well, Thailand's a place to be, Muay Thai, everything. There's so many assets out here in terms of striking.
Okay.
So
Uh,
that's kind of where I got into like the MMA side of things, right?
I see.
Like training there and then seeing like high level strikers, like seeing where they train and saying, okay, like I want to train how they're training, and I see he's in Thailand to improve his striking, so I want that same thing.
Okay. Okay, that makes makes sense. So I think I may have slightly asked you to repeat yourself there
Oh nah,
indirectly. Sorry. But again, your fight record, I was really impressed. I mean, um okay, you recently made your debut with a one championship. Now, one of the questions I want to ask is that you do seem like quite a marketable fighter. Now, why one championship? Is it because they're in Thailand? That's the promotion closest to, or is it because you like the business model, the rules you have to adhere to? I mean, I think what the question I'm asking is you signed up with one championship, but one of the other big promoters, UFC, PFL, or Bellator.
So one championship. Thank you, by the way, for like hyping up my fight record. But yeah. So one championship's doing one Lumpini now here in Thailand. So one Lumpini, it's a one fight contract. They're doing one fight contracts with. They're doing it every week. Every Friday they come here to Bangkok. So I'm in Bangkok and they need fighters and it's a huge promotion. And like if you're living in Thailand or honestly any like neighboring countries, or if you're honestly if you're a European fighter or an
Yeah,
American fighter and you want access to a big show, big promotion, you move to Thailand, you stay here for a decent amount of time, you have a decently winning record, the chances of you getting on one Lumpini are pretty big, right? Because they need fighters to get on one Lumpini because they're doing it every single week. So I think like it's a huge opportunity for like low level, not necessarily lower level, but like I guess yeah, lower level pro fighters, right? Like it's a huge opportunity for them because they're here every week and they need to fill cards. So
sure,
it's
sure.
and they want MMA fighters and they want guys in Thailand for MMA. So it's like, man, if you're here, they want you.
So, do they treat you well, as in the rules and regulations? You can do this, you can't do that, and in terms of salary, because
Yeah,
I've mentioned the bigger promoters. Okay, I've mentioned the UFC. They are still at the moment. They are like the gods. Dana White and his organization, the sort of king of the sport. But of course, they are notorious for how they treat the fighters, especially in terms of salary. But at one championship, you are happy. You're happy with everything overall. How you're being treated overall.
yeah, it was awesome. It was a really cool experience. Like so, have you ever been to Thailand?
I've not been to anywhere in Asia.
Okay, so all right, so Thailand, there's like the I guess like the professionalism in Thailand in general is very like lax. It's very like okay, like whatever happens happens. It's very lax. There's very lack of professionalism in Thailand, and fighting for one championship here in Thailand, it was the exact opposite. It was extremely professional. Everything was timely. I was on their first show, right? So obviously, I'm sure it's like okay, maybe there's gonna be a few hiccups. There was like there was no hiccups. The first show it ran great, and now I've been there. I go there like quite a lot because I go there to corner people and this and that, and you see the difference. I think I went like 3 or 4 fights after I fought,
Yes.
and it was like huge difference, right? Like even from 4 weeks from when I fought 4 weeks later, like they had it on point, like even better, right? And it was extremely professional. Like it was a huge show too. Like one Lumpini fighting in Lumpini was really cool. Big show, very professional, very well done. Like good refs, good judges, across the board. Everything was extremely professional, and especially comparing it to like I don't know, like local Thai MMA show or like MMA shows in Thailand, like the professional aspect was a million times better.
Mm.
And
So
it's huge promotion too. The like obviously one championship, but like people don't understand like when I say lack of professionalism in Thailand when it comes to like fight shows, it would be you wouldn't be able to put on a fight show in the West if you ran it the same way that shows are done here in Thailand.
I
Any
see.
shows across the board. That's Muay Thai. That's everything, right? It just wouldn't be able to happen, right? So like, um, they for one, right? We did CT scans. They did a CT scan for us. They did EKG for us. They did like doctor's medical check, like the works. That was all done for us. Like none of it was out of our pocket, which is awesome. And imagine being like a 16-year-old Thai kid with like 100 Muay Thai fights who got paid, I don't know, 5,000 baht for the last time he fought. And then his next fight, he's fighting on one Lumpini where he's making like real money and all these medical checks and everything. That's like borderline life changing for them, you know, and for them like to take it more seriously and be like, oh shit, like this is the real deal. This is real professionalism shows, you know. Like us being from the West, we kind of understand. We have like an idea of like how it should be, and like
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean. Like we know
Hmm.
what it should be, but like if you're a 16-year-old Thai kid and that happens, it's like you're probably sitting there. I was sitting there like you're waiting for my CT scan, and there was a young kid on the show, like whatever as well, you know. And I could just see in his face, he's kind of like a little bit overwhelmed. Damn, like what the fuck's going on? Like it's crazy, you know. It's a huge deal here. Having one championship here every week in Thailand is huge for MMA fighters, Muay Thai fighters, anybody.
You say that then that in the West we have an idea of how it should be done, but if you think about it really in depth and detail, I think the sport kind of, okay, fine. It's been marketed and capitalized on a lot in the West. You know, we've got the UFC, PFL, we've got
Yeah,
Bellator, but the sport itself originated. I think you may people may disagree with me, but the sports itself originated from the Far East, from places such as Thailand and China. If you think
yeah,
about it,
Japan.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, that's it. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It's just I don't know. My next fight's in Japan, right? But I guess we'll see. Like I've only fought. I fought in the Philippines. I fought in Europe. That was my pro debut, and then I fought here in Thailand. And I've never fought. I never fought in America. Um, yeah, right. Like those are the three places I've fought. You know, and then I'm going to fight in Japan next month. Right, but it's like it, it's hard to explain. Like you got to come to Thailand and see like
mm.
the lack of professionalism when it comes to these events, and then if you see it, like for these kids, it's life changing. You know,
I
for us in the West, like we go even like smaller level shows, right? Let's say like Cage Warriors, right? Like that's a promotion value, right? So Cage Warriors is a huge show, and I bet you the professionalism would absolutely blow any Thai show out of the water outside of one.
um, I was gonna say I lost my train of thought now. Yes. Now you know fought in the US, but you fought in the Netherlands. You fought in Thailand. I think you said the next fight will be in Japan.
Yes, yes, I'll be fighting in Japan, April 30th in Tokyo. Pretty excited for that.
So kind of there's
For
two.
uh for
Oh, sorry, God.
for Pancrase.
For
Pancrase.
is that promotion? I may have not heard of them.
Um, it's like it's probably it's probably I think it's like the oldest MMA promotion in the world. I think it was there before. I think Pancrase was around before Tribe. It's a huge like it's a very old MMA promotion.
Then if you say it's really old, then I must. It may have just gone over my head. Sorry, sorry. It might have just gone over the name. If I see the brand, it might look familiar, but the
Hold
name
on,
probably
pull it up.
just went over my head.
Pull it up. Can you see that?
Ah, and Chris. The logo does look familiar. I must have seen that somewhere
Yeah, it's a
before.
yeah, it's on. They do UFC Fight Pass and everything. And, yeah, I'm pretty excited to fight Japan.
Okay. Now I look forward to seeing you fight
Thank you.
in that promotion. Um, you did mention That's okay. You haven't fought in the US now. Being from the US and fighting in a foreign part of the world, is there, as in the support you get from the crowd, from the fans there, is it quite different as in in comparison to fighting on home turf?
Um, I honestly, I never fought on home turf, so I wouldn't know. But like, you don't really feel it, right? Like once you're here for a while, you kind of feel at home, and then right, like every show I fought on has been like I've known the promoter. Like I've known a promoter, or I've known somebody there. Or you feel at home, so you don't really get that like out of like I guess out of country feel. Like fighting in Thailand, I feel like I'm at home.
Ah, okay. Okay, so there's nothing like if you beat a fighter that who is coming from the country where that fight is being hosted, the crowd doesn't boo you or treat you and say,
No, absolutely
wow,
no, no, no. There's you won't get any. No, not
okay.
at all. You don't get that here.
That's good because over here in the West, that's what sometimes
Oh,
tends
I
to
know.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go a state over, you get food.
Mm.
Like in America, if you went a state over to your local whatever small MMA promotion, you want to state over, you get booed for sure. Which is whatever. I think it's cool. I kind of like it. Like if I got booed, I think it would be awesome. I'd be like, fuck it, like, run with it.
You like it?
Yeah, why not? Like it's part like okay, if I'm fighting, let's say I was fighting in Chicago,
Yes.
I would expect my boys to boo the shit out of the guy I was fighting. But like, so so it's like, okay, I go somewhere else, I expect the same thing.
Mm. All right, I just hope that the booing is where it starts and stops because I know some people go beyond that and start trolling the fighter or start it's just they just take it too far. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
You will get none of that here.
no, it's quite that for me. It's that says something that probably over there they know it's just even though for you guys it's in your blood, you love what you do. They know at the end of the day it's just a fight, it's just a sport, and
Yeah,
you just go your separate ways once once it's done, winner or loser.
absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. Like being in Thailand, because Muay Thai is such a big thing here. Man, you go in any taxi, you go take any like they call them tuk tuks. So it's like a small like
Mhm.
I don't know how to explain the tuk tuk. It's like a small taxi, like half it. It's like a motorbike enclosed kind of, I guess, right?
Like a rickshaw.
And then,
You
yeah,
don't know what it
maybe,
is, yeah.
yeah. And you go to any tuk tuk, any taxi driver, and these taxi drivers are like, "Oh, I fight before, not have many fights, have little fights, only have like 50 fights," and you're like, "What the fuck? Like, what do you mean you only have 50 fights, bro? Like, yeah, it's crazy. So like they understand here, like it's a sport. Fighting is viewed as a sport, like solely a sport. There's very little animosity between fighters and like emotions and stuff like that. Yeah,
You see, you would have thought that some promoters may make like that animosity in terms of for the reasons of to capitalize on that to help get more eyes on the sport, to help get more attention on the
yeah,
sport. So at least on fight night or fight day, whenever the fight's going to be, you
yeah,
will, as in both fighters and the promoter, of course, they're going to get a bigger payday, more pay-per-views, whatever. But they're going to earn a lot more from the events. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, it makes sense, right? Like, but in Asia, you don't see that. Like, it's a big culture thing. I think it has to do with the culture of like the culture of the country as a whole, and then also like the fight culture in Asia. Like it's like I said, it's a sport, and they truly see it as a sport. It's crazy. Like when you come here, man, I was at so before my fight, I fought January 20th. Before I fought January 20th for one, I think I was at a fight event every single weekend for like 8 weeks, either cornering. I either knew somebody, so I was either cornering or coaching, or there to support or just there to watch. And every single week for like maybe 6 months, I was at a fight event. During the week as well. It's there's so many fights in this country. Like when you go somewhere, like if you're fighting yourself or if you're cornering somebody, you get so used to seeing fights that it's just like oh whatever, like it's nothing, you know.
Yeah. You're not really, so you see it so many times that any just the fights itself or any injuries, black eyes, big fat lips, or blood that doesn't what's the word?
It's just normal.
Yeah.
It's just a part. It's part of day to day life.
Mm.
Like uh, like in the West, right? Like I don't know. Let's say I went to work and I had a black guy. Let's say I had a normal job and I was a fighter. I wasn't even a fighter, right? I had a black guy and whatever. I from training, right? I just trained and whatever. I came to work with a black guy. Your boss would be like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, what happened?" Like, it would be like a
Yes,
big
yeah.
deal, you know. Man, here you would be like, oh, so many people train Muay Thai, so many people have trained Muay Thai, so many people have fought Muay Thai. So it's just like, well, what happened? You're like, oh, training Muay Thai. Like, oh, okay, like whatever. Like,
Mm.
you know, people just see it differently here, you know.
Sure.
It's hard to explain, you know, like if you're a professional fighter or amateur fighter and you are not coming to Thailand, I feel like you're missing out. And it's not just like the training aspect, but
Yeah.
it's like training is okay, training's training, right? But it's just like the fight culture as a whole, like truly like understanding like I said, like I was at a fight event every week, right? And like that makes you more comfortable being in when you go to fight. That makes you more comfortable because you're in the back room, you're seeing it, you're seeing
Yeah.
somebody, you're seeing your good friend who you train with every day, repping. You get that nervous feeling in your chest, like when your boy goes to fight. Like I get more nervous when I corner somebody than when I fight myself, right? Like I
Wow.
get that like dun, 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 like shit. So like going in a corner, going to fight events every other week is like it's huge for like the psychological aspect of fighting, you know?
Look, okay, you made a debut with One Championship. They are one of the
Yep,
big established promoters in the world. But
absolutely.
you're only 27 and you only started your really only started your professional amateur career, and you started off really strongly, really well. But would you like to go out, venture out to other mixed martial arts promoters, or are you happy with staying with One Championship now for the foreseeable future?
Well, like I said, like my next fight is with Pancrase in Japan.
Okay,
So I'm gonna fight for them, and then I guess we'll see how it goes. You know, I really wanted to fight in Japan just because I was stationed in Japan when I was in the Marines. I was stationed in Japan for 6 months, maybe a little bit less, like 4.5 months, I think.
sure.
Stationed in Japan, and then so I was like, damn, like I want to fight there. I think it'd be really cool. I'm gonna try to fill the stadium up with Marines. You know, there's Marines over there all the time, so I'm gonna try to fill the stadium up with Marines, and I think just doing that it'll be a cool opportunity, making it a fun time. So I want to try and make it happen.
Uh, just three more questions I've got for you before I let you
No
go.
worries, no
Um,
worries.
so the first one is for the upcoming fight. Just your opinion on on an upcoming fight over here, in the UFC, at the UFC 287. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Who do you have down winning that fight?
I think I want AZ to win because he's like a character and he's more charismatic and he's super charismatic. He's a superstar, you know. But I don't see how you lose somebody what 3 times now and then come back and beat him like right. So he's got knocked out, so that means he probably took a month or so off, right? Maybe a couple weeks off, right? And then now the turnaround. I think the turnaround was too quick. I think the turnaround was too quick for Izzy to get the win. So I think Alex will win, but I'd like to see Izzy win. And
Okay.
I want to see. I'd like to see Izzy take him down and beat him up on the ground. Yeah, make it an MMA fight.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, definitely. The next question, Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. Now, I'll quickly throw my 2 cents in there. I'm still kind of torn as to whether the fight will happen at all or not. Some people have said that fight's not
Yeah,
going to happen.
everybody is. Yep,
Ah, wow.
everybody's torn on that.
Interesting.
Who knows if that happens, right? Who do I think would win if it happens? I don't know. It depends what Conor you get. If you get Conor who's on the booze every weekend, then Chandler, which fair enough, right?
Yeah,
How can
yes,
you
yeah.
blame him?
Hmm.
You know, yeah. If you get Conor who's on the piss every weekend, Chandler wins. But if Conor like trains, and I think yeah, Conor could start him. But I guess it depends on that, right? Who trains more, who wins the fight. It's pretty simple, you know.
And last but not least, any shout outs you wanna give to anybody, Colson?
Just my gym here in Bangkok, Marak Gym, and like gym's been around like 2 years, something like that. And man, they really helped out a lot of fighters, and really helped out lots of fighters. Like Marak Gym, and then our boxing coach, Poya Rokna. If you are in Bangkok and you want good boxing training in, you have to hit him up. He trains at Muay Thai Academy. He coaches there, and then as well as he coaches at Marak too. And he is like, I'm not exaggerating. Like he is top tier, like elite, top level boxing coach in the world. And he's here in Bangkok. And yeah, really good cunt too. Really good cunt.
One last question I'll ask, just and I said I'm gonna ask you 3 questions, but I have to ask this
No,
fourth
no
one.
worries. I mean,
Um,
what's up?
you seem like a really quite articulate guy, quite really as intelligent. You speak well, you speak clearly. Have you ever it's something I've also asked other guys affiliated with the sport, whether they're athletes or coaches or nutritionists, whatever. Um, have you ever considered starting your own podcast as well?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've kind of thought about it, but honestly, I think I would put the effort in. I think it takes effort, and I wouldn't put the effort in.
No, it's all right.
It doesn't interest me. You know, it's not like if I was interested, I would probably do it, but like maybe eventually, but not for the time.
No, I can understand that because even after starting my own, just about a month into, I could see that this takes time, setting everything up and scheduling the meeting, and even then sitting down and editing all the content together. That you got to know
Absolutely,
you have to know what you're doing. But Colton, thank you so much for coming on the show, and definitely have to have you on here again soon.
absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's good talking to you. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Guys, if you enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to hit the subscription button. It really helps me when you do that on YouTube. I can also catch audio episodes of this on Spotify, iTunes, and on Google Podcasts. Colton, once again, thank you so much for coming on. I'll see you
Awesome, brother.
soon.
See you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.